that eyeball, which the internet has started calling Eileen, she is amazing throughout the entire show. She is so much fun. Very smart, probably far smarter than any of the xenomorphs, smarter than any of the people throughout the show. And this little alien eyeball and the xenomorph, they have a fantastic rivalry throughout this entire series. I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a moment where, and how the eyeball operates essentially is that, kind of like the alien, it takes over an organism. It pops out the other organism's eyeball and then takes over the brain. And then has full control of it and all of its intelligence, probably absorbs intelligence over time. So it's very smart. And there's just a scene where Eileen and the xenomorph confront each other, and Eileen's like, you, and Eileen's like, you. He's like, fuck you, no, fuck you. And it's a wonderful sequence where these two just go at it. And I found it so goddamn funny. Eileen does so many foul things throughout this show, and it's just manipulating everyone around it, like all the human characters. It's fascinating. Like, I would tell you, just watch the series to see what that little eyeball is going to do. That might be the most dangerous alien in the Alien Earth show. For those that don't know, I am a huge fan of Alien and its immediate sequel, Aliens. Of course, Alien, directed by Ridley Scott. It remains a masterpiece because of its meticulous world building and gothic utilitarian aesthetic. You know, mixing that grim realism of industrial space travel with just H.R. Giger's hauntingly biomechanical design of the alien, of the xenomorph. And the alien itself, it just embodies the primal terror. A perfect organism that is both beautiful and grotesque, creating this unrelenting suspense in this confined, claustrophobic setting. And then, of course, you have the character of Ellen Ripley, played wonderfully by Sigourney Weaver. It's what blew her up. You know, it just emerged as an iconic, resilient survivor in film and helped ground the horror with a lot of human strength and intelligence, and just a fantastic supporting cast as well, featuring Yaphet Kotto and Tom Atkins and Harry Dean Stanton and many others. And then, of course, you had its immediate, follow-up, nearly a decade later, of Aliens, of course, directed by James Cameron, which brilliantly evolved the formula into this really interesting high-octane action sci-fi horror film. Expanded the universe's militaristic and corporate dimensions, add a lot more depth to that, introducing the concept of the colonial marines, and also amplified Ripley's, role into that of both a warrior and a protector, a mother. And the film balanced the explosive battles with the xenomorph hive against, Ripley's deeply personal confrontation with fear and motherhood and survival, again, transforming the franchise into both a gothic horror, but a thrilling spectacle, and a deeply human story. And, we gotten other spinoffs, of course, in the Alien franchise, in video games, books, comics, a lot of which I do like to some degree. Alien Isolation, I think, is great. And a number of the video games I've really enjoyed. Some of the books, the comics, of course. But, the other films in the franchise have been a complete mess. Or, at best, extremely inconsistent. I've talked about the films quite often on my streams and reviews. Alien 3, the making of that film is far more interesting than the film itself. Just a complete mess, not David Fincher's fault. All these different scripts that they combined together, they were already over-promising of the movie where it was originally going to be set on Earth, and the year 1991, everyone on Earth can hear you scream, something like that, right? And nothing to do with that whatsoever. It was a deeply nihilistic movie. It just killing characters off screen, just made so many mistakes. And then you had Alien Resurrection, which kind of leaned more into the action genre, similar to Aliens, but just wasn't nearly as good. And it was weird. It was French. It was French as fuck. Very, very horny, which Alien already was very horny, but it's French horny, and that's a different type of horny. Introduce some goofy concepts. Although I do like the idea of the mercenaries and pirates, which, Joss Whedon incorporated into the screenplay and later became Firefly. So that was interesting. And then, of course, you had all the AVP films. Like, the original Alien vs. Predator it's I don't mind it. It's fun. It's dumb as fuck. It really is. And I feel like it wears that on its sleeves, personally. It's just a big WWE match between these two iconic Hollywood monsters. Alien, the Xenomorph, and of course the Predator, and it worked for what it was doing. Still very silly, still very goofy. Plenty of flaws, no doubt. Requiem is the worst of either franchise, both Alien and Predator. It's just fucking wretched across the board. Everything from the storytelling, the way it's shot, the cinematography, the lighting, the character. It's just a terrible movie. And then you had, the prequel sequels, which a lot of us were excited for. I certainly was one of those people. Ridley Scott's come back. He's directing Prometheus. It's like, okay, cool. He's going to expand the world of Alien. And my God, so many mistakes in that movie. Over-explaining too much, introduced the concept of the black goo, which is so fucking lame. And I think one of the biggest issues I have with the film is just so many of the characters are so unlikable, so uninteresting, and just plain fucking stupid. And that was so like it's remarkable that you have these soldiers and these blue-collar space truckers are far more intelligent and have far better fight-or-flight instincts than the greatest scientists of Earth, which were gathered and put together for this mission. It's just mind-boggling. And then Covenant, I think, just doubled down a lot of the stupid elements of Prometheus and taking even the one good element from the first movie, which was Michael Fassbender's David, and just making him a parody of himself. I mean, effectively put the franchise on ice for a number of years until recently, with Alien Romulus, which is a movie that I was very tepid on because of the filmmaker in charge of Fede Alvarez, but I saw more and more of the market. I was getting into it. Like, aesthetically, it looked really like it was matching those original films. And I feel like the first half of that movie is actually pretty good. I liked it a lot. David Johnson, I think, is excellent as the synthetic Andy. Wonderful job. There's some cool sequences in there, some nice set pieces, but as soon as they introduced the black goo again, as soon as they just started connecting it to Prometheus and Covenant and all the ridiculous, stupid bullshit that Ridley Scott has been forcing into the franchise since he returned to it, it completely threw the movie off. And it's a movie that the more I think about it, the more time has passed, the less I like it. It's like, is it the third best Alien movie? Sure. Sure. I mean, based on everything else, yes, I guess so. But between Alien and Aliens, it's a fucking giant, crevasse. It's a wide gap in terms of quality. But now we have Alien Earth. The first time Alien, as far as I know, has been adapted for television, and it's coming from Noah Hawley, who I really enjoy as a creator. His Fargo and Legion shows, just to name a couple that I really enjoy. I know he's done other stuff, but those are the two I'm most familiar with. I like those. And for those who don't know, this series is both showrun by him, it's written by him, and it's set in the year 2120, essentially 2 years before the original Alien film, before Ripley and the crew of the Nostromo encounter the alien. And it establishes that we live in a world governed by 5 powerful corporations. And one of those corporations being Weyland-Yutani. But it partly follows the character of Wendy, which I was unsure about in the plot. This was totally new to me. I think they hid a lot of this in the marketing. But it partly follows the character of Wendy, who is this first prototype hybrid. A humanoid being, a child, that has a human consciousness, who is infused into a synthetic body. And she joins with like other hybrids throughout the show and a recovery crew to investigate this crash of this Weyland-Yutani ship, which is carrying all of these deadly alien specimens. Not just the alien, not just the xenomorph, but other ones as well that are new to the franchise. And as they probe the wreckage, they uncovered these terrifying life forms that threaten all of Earth. Body horror, corporate hijinks ensue. And throughout like the multiple episodes, the series attempts to balance like these deep philosophical questions with a lot of the franchise's trademark sci-fi horror. And I think for the most part, it succeeds. I think it does succeed. The performances, I would say, are among the show's strongest assets. Cindy Chandler anchors the series as the character of Wendy, who originally was Marcy. And she's, again, this hybrid that's caught between humanity and synthetic life. And her vulnerability makes I think the show's more abstract concepts resonate really emotionally. Like, she essentially is this little girl that's been placed into this adult synthetic body. And, she gets it. She's like, this is amazing. But she doesn't really understand the minutia of it. I think a lot of the characters around her don't understand that either. And we see how that plays out throughout the show, especially of some of the other young children who are all sick and been placed inside these synthetic bodies. Like, there's a lot of moral questions there. There's just a lot of logical questions there. It's like, is this a good thing? Is this the right thing to do? And of course it's not. And the show explores that, and you see the results of that. And that is certainly interesting from a philosophical perspective. And also at times, like, really, really funny. And also terrifying most of the time. But she is definitely, I think, the big focus of the show. And I'm familiar with her. I don't know what else she's been in, but she does a really good job here. One of the big standouts in the series is actor Babu Sise, who delivers this fantastic and layered performance, this layered turn as a security officer and Weyland-Yutani scientist. His character, this is a new element that's been added to the lore of Alien. His character is part human and part machine. Not a pure synthetic or a hybrid. He's essentially a cyborg, which I think is really cool. He has a past, he has memories, he has flaws, but he's also augmented, made partly to be more machine than human. And this duality throughout the entire series is like central to his identity in the show. As I said before, he works for Weyland-Yutani, and his duty is generally to protect the alien specimens that uphold like his corporation's mission. And he's on board the ship that crash lands, into the city that our characters from this other company are investigating. The hybrids are investigating. And his mission of protecting these alien specimens, it gives him like this moral clarity and purpose throughout the show, but also forces a lot of conflicts to happen. And so much of the show is just exploring what it means to be human and what happens when parts of that humanity are replaced, abandoned, or forced into survival mode. And Cise's character essentially embodies that. He has some of the best moments in the show in terms of the tension, in terms of some of the heartfelt moments. He's a fascinating character, but he's also a very scary character. And I really, really liked him. Anytime he popped up throughout this series, I thought he was just doing a fantastic job. One of the best new additions to the Alien franchise. You also have a lot of corporate scumbags in the series, of course, and you have Samuel Blenkin, who steals a lot of scenes with his chilling, unpredictable energy as Boy Cavalier, who is the founder of one of the new corporations that has kind of risen up in the last few years of the world of Alien. His company's name is Prodigy, and I would describe him as he's part Mark Zuckerberg, part Elon Musk, and the egomania and the arrogance of those two combined. Like, he is, you could effectively say, he is the true villain. He is the most monstrous person of the show. But he just has this, very cavalier attitude. And, he has somewhat like every time you watch him, he can be charming, but then he'll say something just so cunning and so demeaning. It's like, oh, fuck this guy. Right? He's such a scumbag. But it's a very big performance, a very loud performance. And he's meant to just represent the corporate evil of this series, which, again, this franchise has had a lot of evil corporate sons of bitches. But I think he does a great job. Kind of, we didn't have that type of Elon Musk or that Mark Zuckerberg from the 70s or the 80s, but now we have that here in this show. I thought that's interesting. The Alien universe has incorporated a character like that. He does, I think, a really good job for the most part. There's a certain repeated thing with him that's not exactly his fault, that he is kind of forced to do throughout the show, which I'll talk about, which I didn't particularly care for. But overall, he is definitely one of the more fun characters in the series. And Timothy Olyphant, he plays the main synthetic in the series. And, of course, Alien has had a long history of some fantastic synth characters. Ian Holm as Ash, Lance Hendrickson as Bishop, of course. More recently, David Johnson as the character Andy. Some people would also say Michael Fassbender as David, although I feel like that character is a fucking mess. Now he's kind of goofy. It's like, you blow and I'll do the finger. I'm like, okay. But Timothy Olyphant, he's the main synthetic of this series. He plays Kirsch, and he works for Prodigy. He works for Cavalier's company. And in terms of his look, he is clearly inspired by Rutger Hauer's Roy Batty from Blade Runner. Like, he has like this just bleach blonde hair, you know, a similar haircut, and even the way he carries himself is very similar to Roy Batty. And I just think his design is a clear reference to him, and it makes sense because the world of Alien and the world of Blade Runner are one and the same. I always thought that was very cool. I really appreciate that. And he just provides like an enigmatic energy and a lot of gravitas to his role. Again, anytime he's on screen, it's great. And he's essentially like the lead person in Prodigy that's studying these alien organisms. And he's the main handler of the hybrids. My one criticism of him is not his performance. It's just that he's underused throughout the show. And I would like more of the series to focus on him since he's one of the best characters throughout the entire series. And you are balancing a pretty big cast of people, there's no doubt, but I just really liked him. And it like in the first 20 minutes, like he starts out being kind of cool, you know, despite looking like, you know, Rutger Hauer's, you know, Roy Batty from Blade Runner. That kind of puts you, you know, a bit unease. You're like, oh, this guy's going to be pretty evil. But he actually starts out being very much like a father figure to the character of Wendy before she transitions into her synthetic body. But after that, after those first 20 minutes, he makes it abundantly clear that he fucking hates humans. And he doesn't even wait. He doesn't even wait. As soon as Wendy's like into her synthetic body, this is a brief spoiler, but as soon as she's in her synthetic body and they're being sent on this mission to check out this crash of all the alien organisms on there, he's like, hey, you know humans used to be food, right? And he's like, oh, this guy. He's like, oh, I'm just going to share this. I'm just going to share my hatred of humanity, which I thought was very amusing. That's why I want more of those scenes. I want more of those scenes where he's just being, you know, subtly, either overtly evil or subtly evil. You know, we don't know exactly where his loyalties lie, even though I feel like all of his loyalties lie with himself, as so often does with a lot of these synthetic characters. But I really like his performance. I just want him to be in more of the show. He's really fun. And, you know, a lot of Hawley's writing and his dialogue, I think, pushes the series beyond certainly its lesser sequels. You know, thankfully. You know, you have a lot of ethical debates over corporate power, synthetic consciousness, you know, what it means to be human. You know, it gives the show a lot of its thematic heft. While you get a lot of great exchange, a lot of sharp exchanges between characters, and that creates a nice sense of tension and obviously a nice sense of urgency. Visually, Alien Earth is frequently stunning. You know, I think the cinematography captures both the claustrophobic corridors and, you know, the expansive interiors of a lot of the movies, the past films, the best ones, you know, toggling, I think, between that, you know, gritty industrial horror and also moments of unsettling beauty. You know, the editing, I think, for the most part, is generally tight with a lot of well-crafted suspense beats and some really good cliffhangers. Although I think I would say a handful of episodes, this is one of my big criticisms, they do stumble when it comes to some of the transitions between scenes. You'll have these moments, and I just noticed it happening a lot, especially like early on, just footage layered on top of each other that just made it a bit unappealing to me. And it's something we haven't seen in the Alien franchise before, and maybe that's why they did it, to make it stand out, be a little more unique, and that's fair. But again, at least visually, it just kind of felt like a random cacophony of images that just wasn't necessary. It's like, it's okay. I don't need, either pick one visual and stick with it. Like, that's fine. I just don't need all this stuff on top because I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at now. All right. I don't need footage of Peter Pan layered on top of footage from Ice Age, layered on top of scenes of the xenomorph just, you know, doing xenomorph things. It wasn't necessary. But speaking of the xenomorphs, I was very pleased that the alien creatures received ample attention. You know, the series showcases the aliens, the xenomorphs, more generously than most of the films in the franchise do, blending a lot of great practical effects with some CGI to deliver a lot of moments of fun and terror. You get the face huggers, the chest bursters, but also the new biological horrors as well. And they all feel tangible. They're all very grotesque. They're very weird, all appropriately nightmarish. And it just restores a sense of menace that I felt like was lost in latter franchise entries. And again, there's there's just the creatures themselves. Of course, you have the xenomorph, and all of its glory, and they're doing fun things with it. But you also have these new aliens, too, which was the thing that I think intrigued me most about the show. You have these space ticks that, like, feed on people's blood and can drain them completely, and they're able to breed very fast. You have an eyeball with tentacles, which everyone is saying is the standout of the show, and I have to agree. That eyeball, which the internet has started calling Eileen, she is amazing throughout the entire show. She is so much fun. Very smart, probably far smarter than any of the xenomorphs, smarter than any of the people throughout the show. And this little alien eyeball and the xenomorph, they have a fantastic rivalry throughout this entire series. I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a moment where, and how the eyeball operates essentially is that, kind of like the alien, it takes over an organism. It pops out the other organism's eyeball and then takes over the brain. And then has full control of it and all of its intelligence, probably absorbs intelligence over time. So it's very smart. And there's just a scene where Eileen and the xenomorph confront each other, and Eileen's like, you, and Eileen's like, you. He's like, fuck you, no, fuck you. And it's a wonderful sequence where these two just go at it. And I found it so goddamn funny. Eileen does so many foul things throughout this show, and it's just manipulating everyone around it, like all the human characters. It's fascinating. Like, I would tell you, just watch the series to see what that little eyeball is going to do. That might be the most dangerous alien in the Alien Earth show. But outside of that, even though there's some weird visual elements, and I think, Alifan is definitely underused in the show, the one thing I will criticize, the biggest complaint I have, where I think the show falters, is in its overt references, its overt modern references. I have no issue with the corporate dystopia allegories. I think that's fine. Those work very well and have, of course, been a part of the franchise anyway since its inception. But there's like a shit ton of Peter Pan metaphors that start out kind of intriguing, but become so on the nose. Especially when a character is like literally reading passages from Peter Pan, like for minutes at a time. It's right after we just had a scene that is very similar, earlier. That is kind of like the passage of the book. It's like, we get it. I can see like that scene maybe referencing something with Peter Pan, the idea of the Lost Boys, the idea of these kids that are Peter Pan never supposed to grow old, It's like, that's fine, and that's at the forefront of the show and these hybrid characters, but you don't need to stop the episode to have one of our main leads, the boy Cavalier character, to come in like, now I'm going to read you a fucking chapter of Peter Pan. Like, you don't need to do that. It's fine. All right, I already got it. I was like, the main character's name is Wendy. Here are the Lost Boys. She's got to guide them, of course. Like, the boy Cavalier character is obviously like Peter Pan, and he doesn't give a shit about anyone. He just wants to continue to have fun and play with all of his wonderful, shiny little toys. Like, I get it. All right, but you don't need to have that character, the Peter Pan, read passages from Peter Pan. It's just unnecessary. It's almost like Noah Hawley's like, listen, these people watching this show are going to be too fucking stupid to understand all my Peter Pan allegories and metaphors. So I'm going to have my literal Peter Pan character read patches out of Peter Pan. It's like, you really don't need to do that. It's just kind of weird. It didn't fit for me. And then you also have the scenes with, you do have the scenes with Ice Age, which has been trending, has been talking about this. And yes, you do have characters watching the movie. Not even the movie Ice Age. Not even the first one. It's like one of the sequels. I think it's like the third or fourth one. I don't think I've ever seen it. It's the one where I think like a Yeti is like a pirate or something, right? And the main character of Wendy and her human brother, who thought she died when she was a kid. She had this disease. She was sick. Like, they always say this quote from the movie where it's like, oh, you'll have to fight my fury or whatever. It's like one of those. And they repeat it to each other. I'm just like, okay. I don't know. And listen, no, I like the original Ice Age a lot. I think it's a very fun film. I really enjoy it. And it makes sense because it's, under the Century Studios umbrella. right? So it's like, oh, that's why they're using the footage, because they can. It's fucking free. But I don't know. It is a little weird. It is a little weird when they keep bringing it up. Not to the extent they bring up the Peter Pan metaphors and allegories like that one they do 10 times more. But it was like, huh. You know, it does take you a little out of the world. It just felt like a little unnecessary, especially because like Aliens, you know, they never really showed what television was exactly in those movies. I'm not saying they couldn't have. It would have been interesting to see what it would have, but I would have done something like that. I would have maybe, again, I'm not Noah Hawley, but I thought it would have been better if they created their own cartoon for the show itself and the show footage from. I don't know. That's just me. But outside of that, it just, a lot of that was just, it was unnecessary, I felt like. And as I said before, despite these issues that I have, despite these complaints, Alien Earth, I still feel like is very entertaining. It's a really fun watch. It retains in large part the dread, the body horror, the grotesque alien designs, but just wraps them in a broader exploration of identity, of ethics, of corporate power, and the world building, the bigger world building, which the original film and its sequel always excelled at. It doesn't always balance those things perfectly. Some episodes are stronger than others. Some threads are a little less developed, but it does enough right, especially in the creature work, in the visuals, the lead performances, making it probably the most exciting and ambitious sequel to the original 2 movies in the Alien franchise. I think this is better than Alien Romulus, which I think tied itself too much to the original prequel sequels, and just also the 2 original movies, in that it just made these overt references, like lines, like "get away from her, you bitch," and some other things. Like, why are you doing this? The Ian Holm. It's like, why? Why are you bringing back Ash? Like, this show doesn't do anything like that. It doesn't do like an overt, because one, it's a prequel, yes, but it doesn't try to copy the same lines of dialogue. It doesn't try to recreate the exact same sequences from the original movies. It is doing new things, and some of those things work and some of them don't. But, I appreciated the effort at the very least. And I like a lot of what Noah Hawley has done. And I have not yet seen the finale. I'll be checking it out soon. I'll be sharing my thoughts. But so far, after these 7 episodes, I really enjoyed it. I think it's fun. But what about you guys? How do you feel about Alien Earth? Do you like it as much as I do? You're more mixed on it? Or do you downright hate it? You're like, more Alien Covenant and Prometheus for me, please. Put more of that black goo in my cup, Mr. Ridley Scott. Also, I just don't feel, I know Ridley Scott's like listed as a producer on this. I don't feel his influence whatsoever. It's like, this is the first time in a long time where I'm just like, I don't sense him in this, like, at all. I feel like just no, because they don't mention, like, nothing is mentioned about Prometheus. Nothing is mentioned about Alien Covenant. Like, all that's just not there. If it was, I missed it. which is fine with me either way. But, so that's nice. So if you've been just really disappointed by the albatross that is Ridley Scott around the xenomorph around the alien's neck for the past 15 years, don't worry about it. His horrific influence does not feel like it's a part of this show. But what about you guys? How do you feel about the series?
5 minutes later.
Feet. Yeah, he's a lot of feet. He's barefoot. The boy Cavalier character, he's just going around barefoot everywhere. He got some nasty, gross feet. He has got some in the works. I'll tell you what, he's blonde. Eileen's blonde. The 3-layer blend was fucking me up. I didn't like that either. Triple Layers. I was like, why are you doing this? I don't even like that in general. I just find it very distracting. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Megalopolis, where Francis Ford Coppola is like, I'm going to put these 3 fucking images just on top of each other. It's like, why? Why are you doing that? I can't even tell what I'm looking at. And it's just like, it's visually unappealing, The scripts for this show get mixed up with the Skeleton Crew scripts? What do you mean? Oh, because the children characters? Of the Peter Pan vibe. Yeah. I haven't seen all, well, to be fair, I haven't seen all of Alien Earth, but I I was not the biggest fan of Skeletor, at least when I watched it, but it just couldn't it didn't, I don't know. It's not what I really wanted from Star Wars at that point. It's not like it was necessarily bad. It didn't really interest me. I didn't feel invested in those characters. Here I did. I did feel invested. Bad boy, but Chris, Ice Age is now canon. The only person frothing fanboys are rising. I know. It definitely made me go, huh. When it happened. It wasn't a deal breaker, though. That's for Continental Drift, where the scat causes global warming, and Peter Dinklage voices a pirate ape. That's what the pirate ape was. It's Peter Dinklage. Well, how good I know this? I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I laughed like a bastard about that because I was just like, what the hell are we doing here? We could have picked a way better movie franchise, Ice Age. I know. It could have been anything else. Anything else. Money is on display, full frontal. How detailed they got out the Whale and Yutani ship. Oh, yeah. No, it's great. Like, a lot of the show looks wonderful. Like, there's maybe like a couple of scenes where I was like, that's CGI. It's a lot of CGI there. But they were a few and far between. Haven't watched it yet. That might be the next thing I watch after I finish my Star Trek binge. Yeah, I think you'll like it. At least what I've seen so far. KCI problems with the series and its balance between horror and the humor and the story involving the kid synthetics. But I do like the character development, and we've been getting with Morrow. Yeah, that's the God, what's his name? Babu Sisi's character. Yeah, Morrow. He's great. Timothy Olyphant's cursed, but nothing that has kept me enticed with the Xenomorph, and that's a shame. I like what they done with the Xenomorph. This whole thing reminded me, I was going to tell you this in Sarah before the Discord episode got delayed. Yeah, sorry, I had to go into work early. Apparently the guy that did When Evil Lurks is doing the sequel to Ramos. Whoa, really? Holy, is that confirmed? That's going to be fucking, well, hopefully wild. And hopefully he brings in his own writers, too. So they're completely getting rid of Fede Alvarez now. Awesome. That's great news to me. I've heard the character outside of Kerr Shamar I dislike, and I have no interest in seeing. Casey's like, fuck these people. What about Eileen? Some of the kids I want to slap. No, the kids, the thing, and that's what's, and the show explores this. And it shows how fucked up and how just evil all these corporations are. Like Prodigy, their whole thing, like, we want to create immortal humans, essentially. Like, he's like, because that was always like Waylon's thing. He just I want to find a way to be immortal. Like, biologically. And he's like, and the Boy Cavalier character is like, we're going to put a human consciousness inside these synthetic bodies and they'll start to be immortal. But they established in the show that doing that with an adult has apparently caused issues, which they haven't shown what issues those were. I would like to actually have seen that. They said it was like easier with children. But we're seeing throughout the show, like, how this is affecting the kids, like, mentally, emotionally. A lot of them are like getting really fucked up, but they're still acting like children. But they have like these super powerful bodies now. And that creates a lot of moments of tension and some really scary sequences. And then coming to understand that, like, again, at this very young age, like 11, 12, that their humanity's been stripped from them. Like, try telling a kid that their humanity's been stripped from them. And not even really knowing the concept of humanity, of growing up. It's kind of frightening. And there are definitely moments where I could see where people get annoyed. Because these kids are like encountering, like, for example, this is a great sequence. I don't want to spoil it, but there's like a really funny sequence when they're on the ship and two of the kids in their adult synthetic bodies find the little clutch of eggs that the Whale and Yutani ship was carrying to Earth, essentially. And they start being like kids, where they start kicking over the eggs, like who can get their leg over fast enough over the egg. And I thought it was very funny. I thought it was a good one. And then you had goddamn Babu Sisi come in. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing? I'll kill you." And they're like, "Oh," and you're right. They start acting like children again, which I thought was great. Humanity is only skin deep, yeah. I seriously hope, though, that the story gets better at the way Prodigy and Whaley Chani wage their whole feud between. Oh, I love that part. Who gets all the alien life forms, and we get more deep. I'm not sure what you mean by that. With the five hypercorps and what they're doing. I actually like their back and forth, because you do get a lot of scenes, because Whaley Chani's like, we got to get our shit back, right? And Prodigy's like, and you get these moments, especially when like you have the arbitration taking place between these companies. and they get all the lawyers involved, and they have these scenes they're going back and forth, which I actually really liked. I like that. And Wayne Time's like, all right, we got to do this the old-fashioned way, which I won't go into too many details of, but I think it's pretty cool. Bad boy, I'm so much of an Alien fan. I had a dog named Itani in high school. Wow. You can imagine how rough it's been getting these past Scott Alien movies, so I'm happy we finally get some good Alien again. Yeah, I even though I haven't finished watching the show, I haven't watched the finale. Obviously, no one has, as of this recording. But I think this is, unlike Romulus, which there are parts that I like, but that back half, there's nothing in this show, even the things I dislike, that is as bad as the worst aspects in Romulus. I'll die on that fucking hill. I'll 100% die on that hill. Like, yeah. Yeah, I feel like even though the worst aspects of this show are infinitely better than the worst aspects of Romulus, which I felt like had a lot of issues in that second half. But yeah, I agree. I think this is my personal favorite thing since the original 2 movies. It's what I've been asking for a long fucking time. A long time. So it's nice. It's nice. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Alvarez said he wasn't coming back to direct. It was going to hand it off, and that guy's the current right now. Whew, thank God. Good. He can go and ruin another franchise. I'm not saying he ruined it. I'm not saying he ruined it, but he can deliver something mediocre elsewhere.